On a quiet country road outside Washington, D.C., an elderly black man drives home after visiting his grandchildren, jazz playing softly from his modest sedan. But the patrol officer following him doesn't see a distinguished jurist, just another profile to question, and he doesn't just pull him over, he humiliates him. The officer forces him out of the car, makes him kneel on the asphalt despite his age, searching his vehicle while mocking his protests. What the officer doesn't know is that this elderly man holds more power than the entire local judicial system. And when you find out who he truly is, you're going to be shocked. If you believe that nobody should be disrespected just because of the color of their skin, click the subscribe button. Only those that support harassing people for the color of their skin would not subscribe. This story delivers the most powerful instant karma you'll see all year. Judge Thaddeus Montgomery never sought the spotlight. Born in rural Mississippi during segregation, he'd grown accustomed to keeping his head down while his mind soared. His grandfather, a sharecropper who taught himself to read by candlelight, had instilled in him a reverence for justice that transcended the broken system surrounding them. "Law isn't just what's written," his grandfather would whisper, "it's what ought to be." From a one-room schoolhouse with second-hand textbooks to Harvard Law, Thaddeus carved his path with quiet determination. While classmates debated loudly in moot court, he built arguments like cathedrals, methodical, enduring, impossible to ignore. His professors noted his exceptional mind, but few remembered his face. This anonymity became his unexpected strength. Over decades, Montgomery reshaped American jurisprudence through brilliant written opinions and meticulous dissents. He served on the Second Circuit, then the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, before his Supreme Court nomination sailed through confirmation 8 years ago. Justice Montgomery eschewed public appearances, preferring the clarity of written law to televised sound bites. His constitutional scholarship made him respected by both conservative and liberal colleagues. Yet today, driving his 10-year-old Volvo back from visiting his daughter's family in Virginia, Montgomery wasn't Justice Montgomery. To Officer Reed Garrison, he was just another elderly black man who looked suspicious on this affluent road. Garrison had served in the county sheriff's department for 12 years, building a reputation for what his superiors euphemistically called proactive policing. What his body cam footage revealed was a pattern of disproportionate stops targeting minority drivers. 3 complaints had been filed against him, all dismissed. "I police threats," Garrison often told rookies, "not appearances." But his record told a different story. When he spotted Montgomery's sedan traveling precisely at the speed limit, something about the driver's profile triggered Garrison's attention. Not because of any violation, but because an elderly black man in casual clothes seemed out of place in this neighborhood. Montgomery noticed the patrol car trailing him for nearly a mile before the lights flashed. He sighed, removed his hat, and placed both hands visibly on the steering wheel, a ritual he'd performed countless times, regardless of his position. Supreme Court justice or not, he'd learned long ago that certain dangers required certain protocols. "License and registration," Garrison would demand in moments, not knowing he was about to make the most consequential traffic stop of his career. Garrison approached the vehicle with practiced authority, hand resting near his holster. Through the window, he observed Montgomery, gray hair cropped short, wire-rimmed glasses, hands positioned exactly at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. "License and registration," Garrison barked, flashlight beam sweeping across Montgomery's face with unnecessary intensity. "Officer, may I ask why I've been stopped?" Montgomery's voice remained measured, judicial even in this context. "I'll ask the questions," Garrison replied, voice hardening. "You were driving suspiciously. License and registration. Now." Montgomery nodded slowly. "I'm going to reach for my wallet in my jacket pocket. My registration is in the glove compartment." "Just hurry up," Garrison snapped. As Montgomery carefully extracted his wallet, Garrison's impatience grew. "What are you doing in this neighborhood anyway? Visiting someone?" "My daughter lives nearby," Montgomery answered, extending his license with steady fingers. Garrison snatched it roughly, glancing at the name without recognition. "Judge Montgomery? Sure. And I'm the Attorney General." His tone dripped with dismissive sarcasm. "I am indeed a judge, Officer Garrison," Montgomery replied, reading the nameplate. "Now, regarding the reason for this stop," Garrison cut him off. "Step out of the vehicle, sir." "On what grounds?" Montgomery asked. "Step out, now," Garrison repeated, voice rising as he yanked the door open. When Montgomery moved too slowly for his liking, Garrison grabbed his arm roughly and pulled, causing the older man to stumble slightly as he exited. "Hands against the car," Garrison ordered, shoving Montgomery forward against the vehicle. The judge's glasses slipped, clattering to the pavement. From a passing car, a young woman named Zara Patel slowed, recognizing something wrong in the interaction. She began recording discreetly on her phone. "This is unnecessary, officer," Montgomery stated firmly, maintaining his dignity despite the officer's aggression. "Spread your legs," Garrison commanded, kicking Montgomery's feet apart with his boot. Montgomery complied silently, his expression unchanging. Nearby, an older white couple walking their dog slowed to watch the scene unfold. "Just another troublemaker," the man muttered to his wife, loud enough for Montgomery to hear. As Garrison roughly patted him down, Montgomery's eyes met Zara's. A silent acknowledgment passed between them. "Nothing to see here," Garrison called to the onlookers, voice performatively authoritative. "Continue about your business." But something in Montgomery's calm, in his unflinching gaze, made Zara continue recording. This wasn't routine. This wasn't right. "Sir," Montgomery said quietly, "my glasses, they're on the ground." "You can get them when I'm finished," Garrison replied, now rifling through Montgomery's wallet. His eyes narrowed at the judicial identification card inside. A first flicker of uncertainty crossed his face, quickly replaced by doubled aggression. "So you stole a judge's wallet?" Garrison sneered, gripping Montgomery's ID card. "That's a federal offense." He twisted Montgomery's arm higher behind his back, causing the older man to wince. "Officer Garrison, you're making a serious mistake," Montgomery said, voice strained but composed. "I am Justice Thaddeus Montgomery of the Supreme Court." "Right," Garrison scoffed. "And I'm Ruth Bader Ginsburg." He pressed Montgomery harder against the car. "Hands behind your back, now." The evening air grew still. A passing jogger slowed, then stopped completely. Two more cars pulled to the shoulder, drivers watching with phones raised. "I have identification in my breast pocket," Montgomery said calmly. "Congressional credentials, Supreme Court identification." "Stop resisting," Garrison shouted, though Montgomery stood perfectly still. The officer reached for his handcuffs. Without fanfare, Montgomery subtly turned his wrist, revealing an elegant watch, a gift from the president at his confirmation. The jogger, now standing nearby, squinted in recognition. "Wait a minute," someone murmured. "Isn't that From the State of the Union address? Garrison ignored them, roughly securing the handcuffs around Montgomery's wrists. You have the right to remain silent. I'm quite familiar with Miranda, Montgomery interrupted softly, having helped establish its modern interpretation in Chavez versus Martinez. Something in his tone, the quiet authority, made Garrison hesitate, but only momentarily. Check the trunk, too, called a bystander, an older white woman clutching her purse. He might have stolen other things. Montgomery remained silent as Garrison popped the trunk, revealing only a small suitcase and several heavy legal books. What are these? Garrison demanded, pulling out a leather-bound volume. My opinions from the October term, Montgomery replied. I've been reviewing them at my daughter's home. Convenient story, Garrison muttered, but doubt had begun to creep into his voice. The crowd had grown. Zara Patel, still recording, had been joined by an off-duty paralegal named Marcus Wong who was staring at Montgomery with dawning recognition. Officer, Marcus called out hesitantly, I think that actually is Justice Montgomery. I've seen him at oral arguments. Stay back, Garrison shouted, increasingly defensive. This is police business. Montgomery stood silently, handcuffed and dignified beside his car. He made no attempt to argue further, simply waiting. A black SUV appeared around the bend, slowing as it approached the scene. Inside, Supreme Court Police Captain Darius Williams, responsible for Justice's security, received a text alert about a possible incident involving Justice Montgomery. Everyone disperse! Garrison shouted at the gathering crowd, hand now resting nervously on his weapon. Maybe we should call this in, suggested a younger officer who had arrived as backup. If there's any chance he's telling the truth, he's lying, Garrison insisted, but his conviction was wavering. Montgomery slowly turned to face the crowd, handcuffs gleaming in the fading light. I have served this nation's judiciary for 47 years, he said, voice carrying without effort. I have never needed to raise my voice to be heard. The statement hung in the air. Someone in the crowd began streaming the encounter live. Garrison grabbed Montgomery's arm again, shoving him toward the patrol car. You're coming to the station until we sort this out. Montgomery didn't resist, but paused momentarily. Officer Garrison, what you do next will define your career. The words weren't threatening, simply factual, which somehow made them more powerful. Captain Williams' SUV pulled alongside them, lights flashing. Garrison's radio crackled with an urgent message from dispatch, which he ignored. Just get in the car, Garrison ordered, pushing Montgomery toward the back seat. As Montgomery ducked his head to enter, a deep voice called out, Officer, stand down. Captain Williams emerged from the SUV, badge displayed. Release Justice Montgomery immediately. The world seemed to freeze. Garrison's hand remained on Montgomery's shoulder. The crowd held a collective breath. This man is a sitting Supreme Court justice, Williams continued, voice carrying the full weight of federal authority. And you are interfering with a federal officer. Garrison's face drained of color as reality crashed upon him. He looked from Williams to Montgomery, still calmly waiting, glassesless, handcuffed, yet somehow the most composed person present. Garrison began, words failing him. Montgomery simply turned, presenting his cuffed wrists. The key, Officer Garrison, at your convenience. Garrison fumbled with the handcuff key, his previous confidence evaporated. As Montgomery rubbed his wrists, Zara approached cautiously, offering the judge his fallen glasses. Your Honor, she said softly, extending them. Before Montgomery could respond, Garrison stepped between them. "Ma'am, step back. This is still an active investigation." "An investigation of what exactly?" Captain Williams challenged, positioning himself protectively beside Montgomery. "He was driving suspiciously," Garrison insisted, voice rising defensively. "Looked out of place in this neighborhood." The gathered crowd murmured in disbelief. Someone called out, "You mean he was driving while black?" Montgomery raised a hand for calm. "What I've experienced tonight is unfortunately not exceptional," he said, voice carrying without effort. "Simply exceptionally visible." Garrison's face flushed crimson. He jabbed a finger toward Montgomery. "Don't lecture me about—" The motion became a shove, Garrison's hand connecting with Montgomery's chest, causing the elderly jurist to stumble backward. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Phones captured everything. Captain Williams stepped forward instantly. "You just assaulted a Supreme Court justice," he said, voice icily controlled. Garrison seemed to realize what he'd done. His hand dropped to his side. Montgomery straightened his jacket with dignity. "Officer Garrison," he said quietly, "you have now crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed." For the first time, real fear flickered across Garrison's face. "Your badge," Captain Williams demanded, extending his hand. "You can't," Garrison began. "Your badge," Williams repeated. "Now." Montgomery simply watched, his silence more powerful than any rebuke. "This isn't fair," Garrison protested weakly. "I've spent my life ensuring fairness under law," Montgomery replied. "What you're experiencing is consequence, not injustice." "I want my attorney present," Garrison declared, attempting to reclaim some semblance of authority. "A wise request," Montgomery nodded calmly. "One I was denied when you pulled me from my vehicle." The growing crowd had become completely silent, witnessing the quiet dismantling of power happening before them. Justice Montgomery retrieved his fallen hat from the ground, brushing it clean with measured movements. "Sir, we should move you to a secure location," Captain Williams suggested, eyeing the gathering onlookers. "In a moment," Montgomery replied. He turned to face Garrison directly. "Before we part ways, officer, I want to ensure you understand what transpired here." Garrison shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting between Montgomery, his superior officer who had arrived on scene, and the crowd documenting everything. "I was doing my job," he insisted weakly. "Were you?" Montgomery asked, not unkindly. "Your job is to protect and serve, to uphold the law equally, to presume innocence before guilt." Montgomery adjusted his glasses, now restored to his face. With slow, deliberate movements, he produced a small recording device from his pocket and clicked it once. The red light that had been blinking steadily now remained solid. "What's that?" Garrison demanded. "Supreme Court justices face threats," Montgomery explained. "Security protocols include documentation of potential incidents. This has been recording since you activated your lights behind my vehicle." Garrison's face paled. "You can't record an officer without consent. In this jurisdiction, single-party consent is sufficient," Montgomery corrected gently. "As established in Henderson versus State, a case I believe you should familiarize yourself with." A woman in the crowd called out, "I've got the whole thing on video, too, Your Honor." Montgomery acknowledged her with a nod. "Thank you, but please share that with the appropriate authorities, not social media. This situation requires justice, not spectacle." Captain Williams spoke quietly into his radio, requesting additional support. two suited individuals emerged from the SUV, standing at respectful attention nearby. "Officer Garrison," Montgomery continued, "I've experienced variations of this encounter throughout my 74 years. The difference today isn't your behavior, it's your accountability." He gestured toward the crowd, the cameras, the witnesses. "Progress isn't the absence of prejudice, it's the presence of consequence for acting upon it." Garrison's supervising officer, Lieutenant Prisha Sharma, arrived on scene, her expression grave as she surveyed the situation. "Officer Garrison, surrender your weapon and badge pending investigation." "This is harassment," Garrison protested. "No," Montgomery corrected softly. "This is procedure. The very procedure you cited when pulling me over." Lieutenant Sharma collected Garrison's badge and sidearm. "You're suspended pending review," she stated officially. A young black teenager in the crowd caught Montgomery's eye. The justice held his gaze for a moment, seeing his younger self, seeing the future. "Justice Montgomery," Captain Williams urged. "We should proceed to secure transport." Montgomery nodded, turning away from Garrison. As he walked towards the waiting SUV, Zara Patel stepped forward. "Your Honor," she said, voice trembling slightly, "I witnessed everything. You remained so calm. I don't think I could have—" "Dignity cannot be taken," Montgomery replied gently, "only surrendered." He gestured toward her phone. "Your recording may be important for the official record." As Montgomery prepared to depart, Garrison called out in desperation, "You can't ruin my career over a misunderstanding." Montgomery paused, turning back. "I won't be ruining anything, Officer Garrison. The law will simply review your actions as you sought to review mine. Equal justice under law. It's inscribed above the very doors where I work." What would you do in this situation? Would you stay calm like Justice Montgomery, speak out immediately, or react differently? Comment your thoughts below and hit like and subscribe if this moment resonated with you. The roadside had transformed into an impromptu courtroom. Where once Garrison commanded respect through fear, Montgomery now commanded it through presence alone. Lieutenant Sharma whispered something to her radio operator. The younger officer straightened immediately, eyes widening in recognition. Montgomery handed his business card to Marcus Wong, the paralegal who had recognized him. No words accompanied the gesture. None were needed. "I don't understand," Garrison muttered, watching his authority dissolve. "I was following protocol." "Were you?" asked Lieutenant Sharma, scrolling through something on her department tablet. "Because your body cam shows 7 similar stops this month. All minorities, all without citations issued." The crowd's silence felt like judgment. Montgomery adjusted his tie calmly as he prepared to leave. "Sometimes," he said, addressing no one in particular, "justice requires nothing more than truth under proper light." 3 days later, the county courthouse hummed with tension. What began as a routine disciplinary hearing had transformed when Justice Montgomery requested to attend, not as the complainant, but as an observer. Garrison sat rigidly beside his union representative, watching the door each time it opened. When Montgomery finally entered, the room collectively inhaled. He walked with the measured pace of someone accustomed to ceremonial entrances, nodding respectfully to the presiding officials. "Justice Montgomery," Chief Administrator Eliza Hobson greeted him. "We're honored by your presence, though surprised you chose to attend personally." "Some matters transcend delegation," Montgomery replied simply, taking a seat in the public gallery. Commissioner Rafael Ortega cleared his throat. "Before we begin, I should note that the body cam footage and citizen recordings have been entered into evidence, along with Officer Garrison's prior complaint history. Garrison shifted uncomfortably as a side door opened, admitting Lieutenant Sharma with a thick folder. "Our internal affairs investigation has revealed a pattern," she announced, laying photographs on the table. 27 traffic stops in the past 3 months, 23 involving minority drivers, 0 citations issued to white drivers during the same period. Murmurs rippled through the room. Garrison's attorney leaned forward. "My client denies any racial motivation. Let me save us all some time," Montgomery interrupted, rising slowly. The room fell instantly silent. "I'm not here seeking Officer Garrison's termination." Garrison's head snapped up in surprise. Montgomery approached the central table. "I'm here because this isn't about one officer. It's about a system that enables bias to hide behind procedure." He placed a document before the commissioners. "This is a draft of new training protocols being developed for federal law enforcement. I'd like this department to be the first local agency to implement them, with Officer Garrison helping to lead the reform effort." Gasps circulated. Garrison stared in disbelief. "Your Honor," Commissioner Ortega began hesitantly, "while we appreciate your generosity, this isn't generosity," Montgomery corrected. "It's pragmatism. Officer Garrison has demonstrated exactly what needs changing. Who better to help change it?" Montgomery turned to face Garrison directly. "Redemption is harder than punishment, officer. Are you willing to do the difficult work?" The room held its breath as Garrison struggled visibly with pride, shame, and opportunity. "Yes, Your Honor," he finally answered, voice barely audible. "Then we begin today," Montgomery nodded, "with accountability, not animosity. Do you think Justice Montgomery made the right choice offering redemption instead of punishment? Is transformation more powerful than termination? Let us know in the comments. And if this story moved you, hit like and subscribe for more powerful justice stories like this. 6 months later, Justice Montgomery returned to the Police Academy graduation ceremony as the invited keynote speaker. Among the training officers standing at attention was Reed Garrison, now part of the department's newly formed Community Accountability Unit. "The hardest verdicts," Montgomery told the cadets, "aren't delivered in courtrooms. They're delivered in moments when no one seems to be watching, except your own conscience." After the ceremony, a young black cadet approached Montgomery. "Your story changed how I view this uniform, sir," she admitted. "Not as power over others, but responsibility toward them." Montgomery smiled. "The law isn't just what's written, it's what ought to be." Later, as Montgomery prepared to leave, Garrison approached cautiously. "I still don't deserve your forgiveness," he said quietly. "This was never about forgiveness," Montgomery replied. "It was about transformation, of systems, not just individuals." He gestured toward the new cadets. "Your legacy isn't written yet, Officer Garrison. Neither is theirs." If you loved this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to be reminded that dignity is for everyone, not just the powerful. And in the comments, tell us, should Officer Garrison have been given this second chance, or should he have faced termination? Let us know below.